I just want to offer a quick congratulations to the country of Mozambique. It launched their second public TV channel last month. They've run out of balls. That's not all actually, it was launched on the 31st anniversary of their first one. So, you know, some can do it. Imagine for a moment the sort of public broadcasting that we might want in the future. You'd want it to tie it into some sort of performance-based measures. Policymakers would want people to watch it, so you'd target it towards, say, 1 million Kiwis a month watching after the first, say, 3 years. You'd want it to be cheap, so make it for a quarter of the cost of Māori TV. You want the channel to be listed in the major dailies, so in the highly unlikely circumstance that this channel wouldn't be listed in the Listener or the Herald and other major organs, you'd make revisions, so you revise your figures to 200,000 per week. You make the local content available online, on demand, uploaded in mobile form later. Nielsen PAM trend figures show that 95% of New Zealand households still view their TV channels live, even at home with a recorder, despite people thinking that they never watch anything live, quoting the Herald. So you want a terrestrial channel as the main focus, at least for the next decade or so. Well, that's the future. Well, we've got that future right now. It's called SaveTVNZ7. What do you like about 7?
Well, I've only just discovered 7 actually, but I like all the programs on it. They're just sensible.
Yeah, the politics, the things to think about, and there's just so much nonsense and trash on all the other channels.
And what about you, sir? What do you get out of something like TVNZ7?
I like watching backbenchers. It's one of my favourite programs.
We should probably just stop there.
The government says it can't afford it, we don't need it, no one watches it, but in almost every other country in the developed world, public broadcasting has enormous value. This week in general debate in Parliament, Jerry Brownlee was essentially slagging off the Labour opposition for wanting to spend money and said that we want to spend things on dopey things like Radio New Zealand. We want to spend more money on dopey things like Radio New Zealand. Now, if that doesn't tell you what the government's attitude to public broadcasting is, I don't know what does. 88% of New Zealanders would put a high value on Radio New Zealand, even if they don't listen to it regularly. We are turning into a hollow country. That's what I think we're becoming, with no value being put on funding an industry inside New Zealand where we're telling our own stories. The national government does not support public broadcasting. They've axed the charter from TVNZ, they've frozen the funding for Radio New Zealand, and if they could, they would wind it back further.
It's really about something bigger, which is the importance of non-commercial public service broadcasting. Digital media has such a powerful potential for education, and it's all about how we can understand our history and our place in the world. And we cannot have a healthy democracy if we do not have a robust, independent, properly funded media. And as history has very clearly shown, particularly in recent years, advertising revenue and commercial imperatives are not going to deliver this. I think the most beautiful buildings and works of art and timeless plays that we all cherish now were not delivered by narrow commercial interests, and they certainly weren't delivered by decisions about how to maximize profits for shareholders, even when that shareholder is the government. An unregulated market has not delivered us with competition or choice in television in New Zealand. And we have only a few media companies operating, virtually all of them foreign-owned. And this is dangerous. Public service television is an opportunity to nurture our creative sector. And we do have a burgeoning creative industry full of individuals whose artistic vision and talent could help lead New Zealand out of its economic doldrums. We can't rely on milk powder, unfortunately, forever, I don't think, nor would we want to. But there needs to be the necessary medium open to them to realize their talents and to project their creative vision onto the local stage. So because of these realities, the importance, I'm sure you all know, of preserving TVNZ7 should not be taken lightly. And yet, the government is doing exactly that.
It says, look, just had a big financial crisis, current climate, everything's got on an austerity program, that there's just no more money. That's the argument they're giving us. And moreover, they say, as indeed Craig Foster's letter suggested, that there's no need for digital broadcasters or public broadcasters in a digital environment. As long as the content is funded, people will just find what they want wherever they want, and they'll watch it whenever they want. Well, maybe on the face of it, it sounds plausible. But the academic community disagree. Every top expert on broadcasting politics, public broadcasting theories, the whole lot of them agreed that this was a bad decision. And we wrote to the government, wrote to Cabinet and said, government, you got this wrong. We invited them to a forum at Victoria University. Everyone else turned up. Claire turned up, Greens turned up, Sue Kedgley turned up, the industry turned up. Government was nowhere to be seen. I mean, first of all, in a fragmented multimedia environment, public service becomes more important, not less important. Public service broadcasting needs a home. You need to know where to go. So it's actually very difficult to find exactly what you want if everything's fragmented across multiple channels, especially if it's online. Then secondly, market failures under a commercial model lead to the undersupply of content that has high public value but low commercial value. So there's a wide range of programs that no commercial broadcaster is ever going to touch. Now, New Zealand On Air helps. It provides some of that money. But it's not enough to cover all the opportunity costs of showing things on TVNZ7. In fact, when they've had proposals for high quality, educational and informative content, a lot of the commercial schedulers just say, well, we can't show that. And if they won't agree to show it, New Zealand On Air can't fund it. And that's why the government is wrong to say that, oh, don't worry, all the TVNZ7 programs can just get funded on the contestable fund, they'll still be there. They won't. So National's claim that there's no more money is ultimately, I think, a political statement. It's not a statement of economic reality. So what they did is Cabinet Umdenard looked at several alternatives of ways of funding 7, decided it couldn't do it out of the government budget, and then passed it on to TVNZ. Now TVNZ was being badgered by Treasury to increase its dividends. So they couldn't fund it out of its commercial revenue. And TVNZ came up with some ideas, gave it back to Cabinet, but they all involved more government money. And so between the two of them, they passed the hot potato to and forth, and they dropped it. They dropped the ball. And that's where 7's disappeared to.
Is it within New Zealand On Air's mandate to fund a channel rather than to make programs?
No, New Zealand On Air doesn't fund channels, and nor does it fund news.
And I believe that they're only measure success by programs being run. So the more they're run, then the more people who the ratings agencies say watch them, then the more success New Zealand On Air is having, and the more boxes it can tick. That means New Zealand On Air, although it looks as though it is impartial, publicly funded, and all the good things, is actually driven by the same commercial imperatives that the channels are.
We're dumbing down New Zealand by cutting off adult education. We're tinkering with schools in a negative way. This is just another way of losing an informed society, in my view.